The morning sun cast long shadows across Arlington National Cemetery as Martha Ryerson clutched her handkerchief, watching her son's casket being lowered into the earth. Sergeant James Ryerson, just 28 years old, had fallen in Afghanistan 3 weeks earlier. The honor guard stood at attention, rifles prepared for the final salute. That's when it happened. Something so extraordinary that even the seasoned cemetery director, Tom Wilkins, later admitted he'd never seen anything like it in his 27 years of service. A majestic bald eagle descended from the clear blue sky, circling 3 times before landing atop the nearby oak tree. The massive bird, with a wingspan that onlookers estimated at 7 feet, watched the proceedings with an intensity that sent shivers through the small gathering of mourners. "I thought I was seeing things," whispered James' sister Kelly, her voice breaking. "Then that eagle let out a cry right when they fired the rifles. My heart nearly stopped." The chaplain paused mid-prayer. The honor guard maintained their composure, though their eyes darted upward. When the ceremony concluded, everyone expected the wild creature to take flight. It didn't. While the mourners slowly dispersed, the eagle remained, its fierce eyes seemingly fixed on the fresh grave covered with flowers and an American flag. "Animals sense things we don't," cemetery groundskeeper Frank Donovan said later that afternoon when the birds still hadn't left. "But this is something else entirely." No one could have predicted that this unexpected visitor would become a fixture at James's final resting place, or that the reason behind its vigil would uncover a connection so profound it would touch hearts across the nation. James Ryerson grew up in the small town of Pinecrest, Connecticut, where his childhood home bordered a nature preserve. His mother, Martha, recalls how even as a young boy, James showed an unusual connection with wildlife. He'd sit for hours by our back porch with his sketchbook, perfectly still, waiting for animals to appear. She remembered, smiling through tears as she flipped through his childhood drawings in their family album. But it was an incident when James was 12 that truly defined his relationship with America's national bird. While hiking with his father Robert in the nearby Blue Ridge Mountains, they discovered an injured eagle fledgling that had fallen from its nest. Instead of panicking, young James carefully wrapped the bird in his jacket and carried it 3 miles back to the ranger station. The wildlife officer was amazed at how calm that eagle stayed with James. Robert recounted, his weathered hands gripping a coffee mug in the family's kitchen, said he'd never seen anything like it. That bird just trusted him somehow. James visited the rehabilitation center weekly until the eagle, which he named Freedom, was released back into the wild. The experience shaped his future ambitions. High school teacher Diane Miller wasn't surprised when James enlisted. He always had this protective instinct, whether it was standing up for the bullied kids or rescuing animals. Protecting others was in his DNA. What nobody knew until after his death was that James carried a photograph of that eagle in his helmet throughout his service. His squad leader, Lieutenant Marcus Thompson, discovered it while collecting James's personal effects after the roadside bomb took his life. "He talked about that eagle all the time," Thompson said, his voice low. "Said it visited him in his dreams. The guys even gave him the call sign Eagle Eye because he could spot danger before anyone else." By the 3rd day after James's funeral, staff at Arlington National Cemetery realized something unprecedented was happening. The eagle, a wild, untamed creature, returned each morning at precisely 0800 hours, perching either on the old oak tree or occasionally on James's headstone itself. Groundskeeper Frank Donovan began documenting the visits, initially skeptical but increasingly awestruck. "I've worked here for 17 years, Donovan said, showing his daily log with precise timestamps. "Wildlife comes and goes, but nothing like this. That bird sits there for hours, sometimes until sunset. It's like it's standing guard." Word spread quickly through the military community. Veterans began making special trips to witness what many were calling Sergeant Ryerson's guardian. Social media filled with photos, though most visitors maintained a respectful distance. Wildlife biologist Dr. Sarah Michaels from the Smithsonian Conservation Institute arrived on the 5th day, initially planning to tranquilize and tag the bird for study. After observing its behavior, she changed her mind. This adult male bald eagle displays purposeful behavior that defies typical territorial or hunting patterns, Dr. Michaels explained, watching through binoculars. "I can't scientifically explain why it's fixated on this particular grave, but disturbing it seems. Wrong somehow." The mystery deepened when Kelly Ryerson discovered something while sorting through her brother's belongings. Among his journals from Afghanistan, she found detailed sketches of an eagle with distinctive marking patterns. A small patch of darker feathers forming what looked like a crescent moon under its right wing. When photographers captured clear images of the cemetery visitor, the marking was identical. "That's impossible," whispered Kelly, comparing the drawing to the photographs. "James drew this months before he died, thousands of miles away." Then came the package from James's unit, his final letters home, delayed in transit. The last one, dated 3 days before his death, contained a sentence that left his family speechless. "Had that dream again last night. The eagle came and told me not to worry. Said he'd watch over all of you if anything happened to me." A week after the funeral, Martha Ryerson sat beside her son's grave, a gentle breeze rustling through the cemetery's trees. The eagle, now nicknamed Guardian by cemetery staff, perched on the headstone, seemingly unbothered by her presence. For the first time since losing James, Martha felt a strange sense of peace. "I brought something," she whispered, opening a worn wooden box. Inside lay James's childhood treasures: baseball cards, his first merit badge, and a small leather pouch. Martha's hands trembled as she removed a single eagle feather from the pouch. "James found this the day after they released freedom," she explained to Cemetery Director Wilkins, who had accompanied her. "He kept it his whole life, said it was his lucky charm." What happened next defied explanation. The eagle leaned forward, its piercing eyes fixed on the feather. Then, in a movement that Wilkins would later describe as deliberate as any human action I've ever witnessed, the bird gently touched its beak to the feather before straightening back up. That afternoon, Lieutenant Thompson arrived at the Ryerson home with James's personal tablet. "There's something you should see," he said, pulling up a video file dated 2 months before James's death. On screen, James sat against a desert sunset, his face dusty but smiling. "So you won't believe what happened today, Mom," recorded James began. "Remember that eagle I told you about in my dreams? I saw one just like it today, circling our base. The locals said they never see eagles here. The interpreter got all spooked, said in their culture, an eagle is a messenger between worlds. Pretty wild, right?" James laughed before his expression turned serious. "But it made me think. If anything happens to me, look for signs. I'll find a way to let you know I'm okay." The revelation coincided with a discovery by Dr. Michaels, who had been tracking known bald eagles in the region. "This particular bird doesn't appear in any of our databases," she confirmed. "We've checked its markings against every documented eagle on the eastern seaboard. It's as if it appeared out of nowhere, specifically after Sergeant Ryerson's death." News outlets picked up the story. Scientific experts offered theories, ranging from coincidence to conditioned behavior. But for those closest to James, the explanation transcended science. By the one-month anniversary of James's burial, the phenomenon had transformed from local curiosity to national inspiration. A steady stream of visitors, many of them veterans and their families, made pilgrimages to witness Guardian's vigil. The cemetery, typically a place of solemn remembrance, buzzed with cautious whispers of hope. James's high school established the Eagle Eye Ryerson Scholarship for students pursuing wildlife conservation. His unit in Afghanistan raised funds to protect eagle habitats in his honor. Something about the story touched a collective nerve in a country hungry for meaning amid loss. Retired Colonel Mike Harding, who lost both legs in Iraq, traveled from Phoenix just to sit near the grave. "I didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes," he admitted, wiping away tears. "But seeing that eagle standing watch, it's like a promise that we're not forgotten when we fall." The Audubon Society documented the eagle's behavior, noting how it would allow James's family to approach while keeping others at a respectful distance. When a group of elementary school students sent 200 origami eagles to be placed at the grave, Guardian seemed to inspect each one before carefully arranging them with its beak. Martha found herself becoming the unexpected guardian of her son's guardian. "People ask if I want research done, if I'm curious about the scientific explanation," she said while tending fresh flowers at the grave. "But some things aren't meant for dissection. Some things are just meant to be felt." James's father, Robert, previously stoic in his grief, began volunteering at a raptor rehabilitation center. "James always said, 'Everything connects in ways we don't understand,'" he explained while gently feeding an injured hawk. "Maybe he understood something the rest of us are just beginning to see." On a particularly meaningful Tuesday morning, James's entire unit, newly returned from deployment, stood at attention before his grave. Guardian spread its magnificent wings as if returning their salute. Several hardened soldiers broke down at the sight. "That bird knows," whispered Lieutenant Thompson. "Somehow, that bird knows exactly who James was to all of us." On the anniversary of James's death, Martha and Robert arrived at Arlington Cemetery, carrying a small wooden box containing mementos from their son's childhood bedroom. His favorite book on raptors, photographs of his wildlife expeditions, and the forest ranger badge he'd earned as a teenager. The box was meant to be buried alongside his headstone, a tradition the cemetery allowed for Gold Star families. As Cemetery Director Wilkins supervised the small ceremony, Guardian circled overhead, drawing the attention of everyone present. The eagle had become such a fixture that its absence would have been more surprising than its presence. What happened next, however, left even the most skeptical witnesses speechless. As Martha knelt to place the final item, James's dog tags, in the small hole dug beside the headstone, Guardian swooped down with unprecedented precision. In its powerful talons was clutched a single perfect eagle feather, which it deposited directly on top of the tags before returning to its perch on the oak tree. "It was like watching something from another world," whispered Kelly, recording the moment on her phone with trembling hands. "There wasn't a dry eye among us." The video of the feather offering went viral within hours, reaching millions across the globe. Scientists attempted to explain it as learned behavior or coincidence, but their theories fell flat against the perfect timing and deliberate nature of the act. That evening, as sunset painted Arlington's thousands of white markers in golden light, Martha sat alone by her son's grave. Guardian remained nearby, unusually close. "I know it's you watching over us, James," she whispered. "In whatever way that's possible, I know you found a way back to us." As if in response, Guardian spread its magnificent wings and took flight, circling 3 times overhead before soaring toward the setting sun. For the first time in a year, the eagle didn't return the next morning. But Martha wasn't concerned. On her front porch back in Connecticut the following day, she discovered a single eagle feather, identical to the one left at the grave. And in the distance, perched atop the tallest pine tree overlooking their home, guardians stood watch. Some connections, it seems, transcend the boundaries between worlds, and some promises are kept in ways we never expect. If you've experienced unusual signs from loved ones who have passed, share your stories in the comments below. Sometimes the most powerful messages come in forms we least expect.